Hello, it is IARESMART, and today I'm just going to talk about airships. Why? Don't know. I just felt like talking about airships. They're so cool, okay? So basically, we have to go back a bit, a bit of, IARESMART lore. Because when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Indiana Jones. You may be asking, what does this have to do with airships? Give me a sec. So basically, in Indiana Jones 3, which is really good, he goes on an airship. It's a big German Zeppelin, blimp, whatever you want to call it. He rides on this thing. It's really funny because he has to get to Germany because they have to advance the plot in that movie. It's a really, just watch the Indiana Jones movies. Don't, except the fourth one. Don't watch the fourth one. But I love Indiana Jones. He's just cool. But anyway, in this movie, they have to go on a Zeppelin with his dad, and they're just on this plane, and they have to disguise themselves as, I don't know if I can say it, the bad guy Germans from the 1930s. Because I don't know if I can actually say that word. I think YouTube doesn't like that word. Anyway, but the bad guy German dudes from the 1930s. He has to fight them, and then they go flying around on planes and stuff, but they're on an airship. It's this cool thing. It's literally just this giant floating boat. And the thing is, it's a real thing. These actually existed. I think people forget this sometimes. 100 years ago, there was just blimps, and they would fly around and take people places, but they don't exist anymore. What happened? This is just one of those things that's always confused me. They just don't exist. Now, you may have learned in history class as a kid about, the Hindenburg, right? It's something everyone knows. It was a pretty bad thing. It's literally like the top two worst things that happened having to do with aircrafts. And so unfortunately, the thing is that really left a bad impression on people. So that's kind of a big reason why airships aren't around anymore. Because it's we have this giant thing floating in the sky, and it can catch on fire and crash. But the thing people don't usually mention is that the Hindenburg was filled with helium. No, it was filled with hydrogen. I'm sorry. It was filled with hydrogen, while most other airships are filled with helium. The thing is, if you know your chemistry, hydrogen is flammable. It just is. It's flammable. But helium isn't. Both of them are lighter than air, which is, you fill a balloon, and it goes, woo, it goes and flies up. So the idea was the blimp is just a really big metal balloon. And you fill it with air, and it goes, woo, it goes up in the air and flies around. It's crazy. You put propellers on it, and you can choose where it goes. Crazy stuff. It's like a submarine, but instead of, I don't think submarines, I mean, they still use buoyancy to go, up and down and stuff, but it's kind of like that, but in the sky. Crazy stuff. I'm not an aeronautics expert, but this is how this stuff works. So for whatever reason, my main point, the Hindenburg, they had to fill it with hydrogen because, the German company, that being the Zeppelin company, they were like, well, we can't get any helium because the U.S. won't let us have any. I don't know why. For whatever reason, in the 1930s, the U.S. was like, hey, we're going to just hoard all of the helium in the world. Don't know why they did that. I mean, I probably could look it up, but that's just what they did. So anyway, then the German company was like, all right, we're just going to put hydrogen in it. It works just as good. It's kind of flammable, but, that's fine. It's not like we have any, machinery or anything on this thing. That's probably fine. Also, the outside, yeah, we're also going to make that flammable, too, because, we might as well. And then, bam, little tiny electrical spark, little flicker of electricity, and woof, the whole thing catches on fire and crashes, and now airships don't exist anymore. Because, why? That's so unfair, Think about, the Titanic, The Titanic, big, fancy cruise liner. Kind of like how the Hindenburg was a big, fancy cruise liner, but in the sky. This thing was lavish luxury. Look, I'll show some of the pictures of this thing. This thing was fancy, just like the Titanic. And that's what it was. It was big, fancy transport for rich people. But, in the sky. But the thing is, my point with the Titanic is, the Titanic, big, fancy cruise liner, crashed and sunk, and a bunch of people died. But we still have cruise ships today. We just made them safer. Why didn't we do the same thing with airships? That's so unfair. Airships are way cooler. I've never actually been on a cruise now that I think about it. But I really want to ride an airship. That's like a bucket list thing. I need airships to come back so I can ride on it. Either that or put me back in time so I can go ride on airships. Because they're so cool. Big floaty blimps in the sky. It's just like a Star Destroyer, hovering over Jeddah. Like that scene? It's cool. But it's in real life. It's like an actual thing. It's an actual blimp. It just hovers. Just hovers in the sky, looming over stuff. It's crazy. They're so cool. I want a Zeppelin. Or an airship, blimp, whatever you call it. I want one. I just want one. Can I have one? Can someone make me one? That would be so cool. So anyway, the thing is, you're probably wondering now, alright, are you going somewhere with this IARESMART? Sure, I got somewhere I can go with this. Guess what? These things might become a reality very soon. I did some researching earlier before this video, looking up, are airships, still a thing? And guess what? They are. Now there's this thing called the Airlander 2. It's kind of like a prototype, but it's a real thing, and it's an actual blimp, and it's around today, and it floats, and it goes and flies up. It's the biggest aircraft, well, ever. You know, I'm pretty sure that's what they said in the video I watched. But anyway, it's this really big thing. It was originally designed by the U.S. military, right? And but then this UK company was like, hey, we'll make it and make it a fancy like rich person thing. So the idea is like it's a fancy cruise ship, but it flies. It literally just like takes off somewhere and can just go anywhere. It's like, hey, their main like selling point with this thing is like when they want to produce a lot of these and like sell them so that rich people can go fly around on them. The idea is like, you can just go anywhere. You want to go to North Pole? Sure. You don't even need an airport. You just go up and you go down wherever you want, because that's what these things do. You don't even have to go to an airport. Just any kind of flat surface, bam, you just land there. That's so cool. And also, that's how we're gonna pay for these things, right? Just get rich people to pay for it. Rich people will buy anything. Just be like, hey, you have a bunch of money. Want to go float around in the air? Of course you do. Bam. Now rich people are giving us a bunch of money. We got tons of funding. That's how we're gonna get airships back. We're gonna get the rich people to do it. Okay? They're gonna give us money, and we can make airships come back. It's such a good plan. Also, there's an idea with these things. Is think about what an airship does, right? You need like a decent bit of like propeller and stuff to take off. But then once it's in the sky, it kind of just needs the propellers to guide it. It kind of just floats on its own. It really doesn't use that much fuel, which is great, because that means like less emissions, and that means it's better for like the environment and stuff. Whereas like a plane's got to be burning fuel the entire time it's in the sky, and that's kind of like a lot. That's like a lot. There's a ton of planes, and like every day flying across the earth, and they're all like always burning fuel. That's a ton of emissions. Okay, so the idea is like if we get more airships, sure they're a bit slower, but they're really cool and fancy, and I want to ride on them. And there's probably a bunch of other people who want to ride on them too. It's going to take a bit longer, but if you sell people on the idea like, hey, riding on this airship is way better for the environment on a plane, a bunch of people are going to do it. So again, another selling point. We got to get more commercial aircraft that are actually blimps, because blimps are cool. That's my whole point with this video. I love blimps. They're so cool. I love them. They're amazing. Now another thing, it isn't just like this one company in the UK that has this prototype. There's another company in France called Flying Whale. Yeah, kind of a funny name. But anyway, their whole idea is like, hey, we have a bunch of like places that are like super remote, like this really dense forest or whatever, and we want to be able to like transport cargo out of it, like logs or whatever resources, and we want to be able to move that. But that's difficult because you got to like get like a train in there or like a truck in there to get stuff in and out. But their idea is to build a really big blimp, huge big blimp that's got a crane on it, and it like reaches down and like grabs the stuff. And it's crazy. They have this whole like video. It's not a real thing. They haven't built it yet, but they're working on building it. And if it does, it's super cool, because you're gonna have this giant thing that can like move cargo around and just float it. Because boats are good, but they only work on water, and like trains are cool, but they only work on train tracks, and trucks are cool, but they only work on roads. An airship can just go wherever it wants to. That's like the main appeal here. So I mean, it's something they're working on. This company, they're still working out all the, how is this thing gonna work? You got to balance like how much cargo can it carry, that sort of thing. It's all sorts of things that they're getting into. But like, if it would be a really cool thing, because again, lower emissions. It can just pick up stuff and take it anywhere. We can transport stuff to remote locations. All sorts of crazy stuff we could do. Okay, so the future of airships could be a real thing. It's been like 100 years since airships were flying around, but like maybe it could happen again. If it happens in my lifetime, that'd be so cool. Seriously, I want airships to come back. I want to see one. I want to go outside and be like, well, look, that's an airship. Because like when you're a kid, you see an airplane the first time. That's like cool, but like there's a ton of them. You see them all the time now. It's like, but like imagine seeing a giant blimp. That's cool. They're so cool. Why can't we have them? Why can't they be a real thing? So here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna start my airline company now. It's gonna be called Smart Air. That's what we're calling it, Smart Air. And you can invest in this company, Smart Air. You know how? Subscribe. If you subscribe right now, you can invest in the Smart Air. Right? We're gonna start making blimps, and we're gonna take people on trips and stuff. It's gonna be like Disney cruises, but better. It's on a blimp, and we can make one blimp that looks kind of like a Star Destroyer, and have it like all Empire themed, and have a bunch of stormtroopers on there. It's gonna be so cool. Disney's probably not gonna be okay with it, so we'll have to make a deal with them or something. But that's like for a bit down the line. But for now, I need you to invest because this is going to cost me like millions of dollars, probably billions, honestly. So I need you to invest by hitting the subscribe button, please, please. I want this to become a thing. But anyway, I just felt like making a video about Zeppelins today because they're so cool, man. And I don't see anybody talking about them that much, but they're cool. So Zeppelins, that's it. That's all the videos. Zeppelins are cool. I felt like making a video about Zeppelins. Okay, anyway, bye everybody.